So let's talk camera filters. There are three main types of filters that I use: ND, Polarizer, and Diffusion. In this video, I'm going to go over what these are used for, why I use the ones that I use, and how I mount them to my lens. Alright, let's get started. So ND stands for neutral density. Think of these filters as sunglasses for your camera. They cut the amount of light that's entering your lens. The ND that I use is a Hoya Pro ND64. Let me show you what an ND is actually used for in video. Let's say I want to shoot a video of a flower on a bright sunny day and I want to get that creamy background blur that you get with an f1.4 lens. Well, we start off by setting our aperture to f1.4 to maximize that background blur, and then we lower the ISO to reduce my camera's sensitivity to the sun. Now with my shutter speed, I'm going to want that as 1/50, as it should be double my frame rate to get a smooth motion blur. And in my case, my frame rate is 25 FPS. But as you can see, with these settings and no ND filter, I just get a completely blown out shot. The only thing that I can do from here is raise my aperture, but you lose that nice background blur and that nice isolation on the flower, leading to a messy scene. So that's where the ND filter comes in. Even on a bright sunny day, it lets me cut the light and maintain that f1.4 aperture and that nice motion blur with a correct shutter speed. It leads to a much more isolated shot on the flower rather than a messy scene. Out there on the market, there's a ton of choices for ND filters, one of which is variable NDs. For the same amount of money, you're getting a whole range of ND stops, but it is prone to one key flaw. What happens is when you're reaching the maximum strength of the ND, it tends to create this sort of X pattern and it renders your image unusable, so I can't recommend them. It is more expensive to buy multiple ND strengths, but at least when you're up in that maximum strength range, you can actually use them and your image will look nice. As the name suggests, polarizers cut through polarized light. If you've ever used polarized sunglasses whilst driving, or maybe whilst fishing and looking at water, it's essentially the same idea but for your camera. Polarizers come in super handy when you're looking to shoot through a window. Let's say you're shooting a car commercial outdoors and you want to get a shot of the driver through the windscreen. Well, naturally you're going to be getting all these various reflections and glare from the environment around you, and a polarizer can help cut through that. Now, the example that I've put together here is a bit of an extreme setting. You're going to want to find somewhere that doesn't have so much reflections and glare, but I thought this would be a good way to show the effectiveness of the filter. So the way a circular polarizer works is that by turning the filtering, you can actually fine-tune that exact spot where it's going to cut through the polarized light and minimize reflections. Here we can see what a difference it makes to have a polarizer when you're shooting through a window. Like I was saying before, polarizers also work on water. Look at what a difference it makes to the color and the clarity of the rocks. Another use for a polarizer is saturating the sky on a gloomy day. These filters can give the sky a bit more of a deep blue appearance, and also it can even save the sky from becoming overexposed. Diffusion filters are used to reduce contrast in a scene and add sort of like a bloom to the highlights. This results in a much more dreamy look than what comes straight out of the camera. The diffusion filter that I use is the Moment Cinebloom 10%. If we look at this light bulb setting, we can see how the filter diffuses the light and almost spreads it across the entire image. This filter works great in varied night environments where there's a lot of little different lights and it can diffuse and spread each one. It really adds that extra little visual layer to your image. Whilst the effect of this filter is at its strongest during nighttime, it also does work really well during daytime. Have a look here how it lifts the blacks, rolls off the highlights, and adds a bit of mist to the image. This can create the illusion that it's a more expensive camera with more dynamic range and a smoother light fall off, similar to like a cinema camera. Diffusion filters are very popular for filming people. Due to their natural reduction in sharpness to your image, it can reduce the appearance of blemishes on the skin. With all these modern cameras and how much detail they capture, sometimes they capture a bit too much detail that we may not want to see. So the price of filters adds up quick. As you buy more and more lenses, and they all tend to have different filter thread sizes, you don't want to buy a filter for each one. So that's where step-up rings come into play. They let you convert the smaller filter thread size to the larger one. So to give you an idea, all the filters that I own are 82mm, and I've got lenses that are 67mm, 72mm, and 77. But I've got a step-up ring on each one that converts it from their own filter thread size to 82mm, so I can use that one filter on each one. So this does save you a lot of money, but unfortunately it does come with a bit of a drawback. As you convert it from the original filter thread size to a larger one, that means that your original lens caps and lens hoods are no longer compatible. So you will need to buy some third-party ones that fit your new filter thread size. And I keep my filters in a trifold filter pouch. It's small, lightweight, and easy to slip into my bag. I also put some labels on there just so it's easy to distinguish between ND and polarizer at first glance. These filters have really helped me over the years. There are so many situations where you need to cut light, remove reflection, or add an extra little bit of diffusion to your shot. Whether you're learning about camera filters for the first time, or if you want to see more of a real-world test like what I showed here, I hope this has helped you. And if it did, please do consider subscribing. It'd be good to see you around. Like usual, I'll put in all the places and prices of everything in the description. So that's it for me today, guys. Have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.